Hello, everyone. Thank you for those of you who joined on time and a bit early here. My name is Kimberly Tucker. I'm the Director of Marketing here at DSD, and I have been your communication line and how we got you here today. So I also will be host and moderator for this event. So if you have any questions or connectivity issues or just in general want to ask about the product or anything you've seen today, please feel free to use the chat or respond to any of the emails that you've received from us, and we'll go ahead and try to address them in the Q&A portion of this hour. So with that, I will go ahead and pass to Abe so we can get started.
Outstanding. Thanks so much, Kimberly. I appreciate it. And let's see, we're just past the hour, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abe Plummer. I'm the Business Development Manager here at DSD Business Systems, specifically on the HCM or Human Capital Management team. Excited to speak to you guys today. I will also be joined along with Kimberly by my colleague Steve Tompkins, who is our Senior Technical Consultant and Business Analyst. Today, our goal is to give you a bit of an overview of the importance of a proper HRIS system, and specifically how it can help in conjunction to automating things, specifically around the HR functionality and with a big focus on benefits management. Now, that said, the system we'll be discussing today, which is known as Criterion HCM, actually has a variety of different components. And we will just be focusing today on the HR side of it, like I said, with a focus more on the automation piece around benefits management. But I want you to also understand that there is a very in-depth time system component that's here, along with scheduling. There's also a employee self-service portal. There is a very comprehensive payroll piece as well. So again, we're not going to get a chance to touch upon all those today, but I just want to make mention that they are out there, and we are very excited to be able to certainly show you those. So at the conclusion, don't hesitate to reach out to us and let us know. We're more than happy to answer any questions. And if you'd like to have any demonstration specifically for you and your organization, we're more than happy to do that as well, along with providing any additional materials as well, so that you can have a really good understanding of the product. The way this is going to work today, I'm going to speak around a few components, and I'm going to go through a few slides, just giving you kind of a high-level overview of the components of the system. Again, specifically around the HR piece with focus on benefits management and a lot of the automation. My colleague Steve Tompkins will come on in the second half, and he will actually do a live look into the software as well. Now, again, for the demonstration component of it, it is going to be very high level. It is going to be brief because we only have an hour for everything. So his portion will only be about 30 to 40 minutes. And it really is just going to be a quick glance in of the software. So again, this is not going to be a really deep dive. For that, we would very much like to have conversations with you directly so that we can schedule a appropriate demo to go into all the different components. So again, that said, we're going to talk about the automation, the benefits administration, and really get into how the software works. This is a cloud-based system. One thing I would stress is it is a cloud-based system, but it does have the ability to be locally hosted, which is fantastic. And we have clients that have chosen that option. So if you are more comfortable with having everything living in your own servers, that obviously can work. One of the big things here that is such a amazing piece of Criterion is the integration with a variety of different ERP systems. Specifically, there are integrations currently in place for Sage 100, Sage Intacct, and Acumatica. But if you have another ERP system that you're using, if it is an API system, Criterion is designed so that it can be connected with other systems via API. And Criterion, I can happily say, is working on a variety of other integrations as well. So you have a lot of flexibility around that piece of it. One of the big things, again, we won't spend a lot of time talking about payroll today, but I did want to at least speak to that because Having that automation of payroll is such a big thing, and being able to have one system where everything is all housed internally and everything is under one back-end database is really such an advantage. So having your payroll system within one space is great, but again, to the point I was making previously, Criterion plays very well with others. So if you are using a third-party payroll software, you can, of course, have the connectability there. If you wanted to just do an import and export of your HR information to that payroll system, you certainly could do so. And we have a list here of some of the other payroll systems that are out there. But an example of, I'll use Sage 100 Payroll. The nice thing about Criterion is there is a direct interface that has been built, and it has been built from the ground up by DSD, as we are a master developer for Sage 100 as well. There is a purpose-built interface between Criterion and the Criterion HR side and Sage 100 Payroll. So you don't have to worry about doing an import-export there, as there is an interface that has been built out. And again, we look for future webinars that will get more into the payroll side of things, but just wanted to at least make mention of that you could even use Criterion Payroll, but we also work well with other payroll systems as well as other ERPs. One of the things I really want to spend time talking about today is going to be around the time management piece for time and attendance. Again, Criterion has a purpose-built from the ground up time and attendance system. So being able to actively manage these things is huge, and then having that in conjunction with a scheduling component is absolutely critical. There are so many instances where we have conversations with clients, and unfortunately, they are utilizing a time system that has certain gaps. So they have a lot of different issues with their systems. I was actually talking to someone today that has timesheets that are manually entered by the employees, and there's a lot of concern that there are some issues with people not entering their time incorrectly, sort of rounding that time off. Having a good time system is critical to being able to efficiently manage that, and obviously keep costs in perspective, as well as just making sure from an overall standpoint, everyone is clocking in and clocking out pursuant to the views of the company. So again, with Criterion, you have a purpose-built time system that's included in the system. It has the capability of being able to have people clock in and clock out through a variety of different manners, from a physical time clock. We have RFID, we have biometric, we have facial recognition, but then we also have the ability to use a kiosk or have people clock in through computers, as well as a mobile app that works on both Android as well as Apple and iOS. And within that app, we also have geo-tracking built in. So if it's a scenario where you have employees clocking in and clocking out, through the app, with the geo-fencing and geo-tracking, you could actually make sure they were in the location they needed to be. So if someone is supposed to be in a physical center or a building, with the geofencing, it can either allow them to clock in if they're outside of that, and it can flag the punch if they're outside of that, so other conversations can be had with that employee, or it can just disallow the punch altogether. That way, of course, if they're sitting at Starbucks or McDonald's clocking in, you're able to control that. I will spend just a few minutes talking about the benefits of being able to automate your recruiting and onboarding. For so many clients, we have conversations where they are using either a third-party company or some sort of third-party software to handle everything from applicant tracking and onboarding. And it really is an area of a lot of stress for them. Again, within the Criterion system, you have a purpose-built system that is going to have all of those onboarding components in-house. So again, you're able to manage the process from the minute you post a position, and being able to have that position posted on, if you use a third-party site like an Indeed or a ZipRecruiter, and maybe even post internally on your own website, being able to manage those applicants from there, where each and individual applicant, you're able to have components in the system, so that applicant is in their own space. So when you take that application and they upload resumes, certifications, recommendation letters, what have you. Each individual applicant is managed within the system. And then as they go through the interview process, the various interviewers can see the notes and comments from the other interviewers, which is very, very useful. And then once you have finalized the applicant, you decided an offer should be extended, you have the capability of having all of that information along with all those notes flow through the system and also provide them with all of the necessary paperwork. So things like I-9s, W-4s, corporate handbooks, if there's any sort of non-disclosure agreement, what have you, it's all managed there in the system. And then notifications will go out to that new hire, letting them know what task they need to complete, and it'll also give notifications to their direct manager along with someone in the administrative staff when tasks are complete. And if they haven't been complete, it will flag those as well to make sure everything is done in a timely manner. So the big thing there is simplifying that, giving everyone on the administrative side along with management very clear access to what's going on so things can be managed properly, and then letting them know what tasks have or have not been completed, again, to streamline this. So you don't have all that duplicate entry where a lot of people are having to spend a lot of time to get that person onboarded, which is a tremendous help within the system. Now, as far as being able to, again, automate all this, having all of these things in place, as I alluded to before. So again, the I-9s, the W-4s, this really helps you from a records management standpoint, and also helps from an auditing standpoint, being able to have all of this stuff kept within the system and kept electronically as opposed to having to keep up with all that paper. We've gotten tremendous feedback that has been such a big value add for our clients, getting rid of managing all this stuff and all of that paper. That's one of the #1 things that I think really differentiates us from a lot of other systems even, is the fact that you do have all of that automation between a variety of different people. Even if you're using a third-party company that handles the posting of the jobs, even being able to give them access as well, limited access to the system, so everybody is on the same page, is a tremendous asset. On the benefit standpoint, again, being able to work in conjunction with your various benefit carriers. A lot of times people use brokers, and being able to have that connectability with your brokers and then also with your HRIS, or as we say, HCM system, again, HRIS, Human Resource Information Systems, or obviously HCM, Human Capital Management, it's all the same. But being able to have that work in conjunction with the various benefits providers you have, so that ultimately when you do things like open enrollment, all that stuff can be done within the system. You're able to have the employees go in, make their various changes as they need to, and be able to do that through the system via a self-service portal that we have that the employees would have access to. So again, all of those benefits components, even when open enrollment's not going on, but the employee needs to be able to go in and even make changes to their own record. You're able to give them access and empower them to do things. Again, you are able to restrict what they can and cannot do, but things like being able to go in and being able to update dependents or change address, update phone numbers, emergency contacts, all those sorts of things are absolutely critical. And the employee self-service functionality works in conjunction with the benefits management to be able to help with all of this. And I can tell you firsthand that is a huge, huge sticking point for so many of our clients, is that's something that is really a nightmare for a lot of the HR professionals trying to manage that. The next thing that's really, really important is being able to do things with regard to doing evaluations. Performance management is critical. And again, within the system, having the ability to be able to do internal evaluations and performance management from a variety of different platforms. So you can have a number of different reviews. You can do things like obviously peer reviews, direct manager, 360s, and then we even have some clients that have other ways that they do their performance management and evaluations. Again, being able to have all of that stuff handled within the system so that once an evaluation is done, the employee is able to be able to see what was what the evaluation was from management. They can ask questions. Then they can obviously sign off on that, and that information, and then those notifications can go to the direct manager along with the HR team. So everything, again, is the collaboration within is good, and everyone is on the same page, which is really critical as you go through that piece of the business line, being able to make sure that all of that performance management is clearly monitored, and then all of the appropriate parties are involved in handling things in a timely manner. Again, tax documents, such a big piece. Obviously, being able to make sure that things are being calculated properly, and being able to take care of all of the tax management piece of it. So again, with Criterion, you have really three main options when it comes to taxes. You can use the system and be able to generate from the system, get all the information that you need if you want to file your taxes and handle that on your own. If you wanted to be able to have the system handle that in some capacity, there's a component in there where the system is going to maintain and manage a large portion of that. And then there will also be an option if you wanted to have the system maintain all of that. So everything with regard to your tax filing done by the system, that is also an option where it's 100% managed and maintained by the system. In addition to that, again, this gets into the payroll piece a little bit, but I'll just speak to it. Obviously, you also have the capabilities as well of being able to have things, like obviously check printing, direct deposit, all of that functionality also within the system that is also available to you, and a variety of different options there. As I spoke to previously, automations of various notifications and reminders is key. Again, we spoke to it just a moment ago with regard to performance reviews and management, but then also other dates that are very important. Maybe there are notifications that you want to be able to send out to employees around different company initiatives. You want to be able to recognize people for work anniversaries or birthdays or a variety of different things, accomplishments, promotions, all of that stuff within the system. So the employee will have the access, again, restricted access that you're able to control, to be able to have the ability to see what's really going on. If it's something specific to their particular division, that can be in there as well, or if it's something to the company at large, that can all be communicated within the system. And again, from personal experience, we have so many clients as we're coming out of this pandemic that have had employees that are working all over the place. Some are working from home, some are working within their facility, some are working on the road, whatever that looks like. Having that interconnectability is critical, and then being able to have notifications and reminders and all of that interconnectability within the organization. Again, it has been such a huge advantage, and as we go through the pandemic, that has been something that has really resonated for a lot of people. Being able to also have the system facilitate things like background checks for screening purposes. Criterion does work with a third-party service that does integrate directly in, so you would have the ability to be able to do background checks and various screening activities directly through the system. Again, the whole concept behind this is being able to have everything done in one place, because as we have these conversations, myself and my team, so much of the time we find that people have to handle all these different components, but they have a variety of different platforms that they go through to do so, which is really just obviously something that can be a bit of a challenge, if you will, sometimes connecting with all those different components. Now, just to give you a little bit of sort of background on the history of Criterion. Criterion has been around for 30+ years. They are really designed to be a middle market and even small business solution that has enterprise level functionality. So again, being able to get all of those various components that a lot of your larger organizations and corporations will need, but being able to bring that all the way down to a small business. Again, I can tell you there are clients that have as many as a few thousand employees that are using the system. And then we have clients all the way down to the other end that are maybe no more than 20 employees strong. and yet the functionality that's here is useful for all of them and everybody in between. So that's one of the things that we have really liked about Criterion, that can really work and be scaled up and or down. Again, this is a modular system as well, so you're able to continue keeping the components that you feel like you need while omitting things that you don't. And of course, you have the capability too of being able to, based upon your particular needs at that time, implement certain components. And then if you wanted to add things at a later date, you're able to do so as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, obviously, being able to have, really HR where you can automate so many various tasks and then have that interconnectability that I discussed previously is absolutely huge. And then empowering your employees to be able to take care of a lot of tasks that just quite frankly fall on the shoulders of the HR professionals and payroll professionals within your organizations is critical. There's so many times that people will say, boy, I wish I didn't have to worry about pulling a pay stub or a W-2 for an employee. I wish they could do that on their own, or I wish they could see their own schedule. I wish they could go in and request time off and see PTO calendars. All of those components are within this system. So a lot of that stuff that falls on the shoulders of the HR professionals can actually be done, again, by the employees, by empowering them to be able to do so. So again, having a full functioning time system while also having that connected to the employee self-service is absolutely critical. Being able to allow them to be able to go in and make sure that they have the access to do, again, their own management of their own information, being able to clock in and clock out, and then having that managed by both a direct manager and also the HR professionals, again, has been something that is really just, it seems simple, but I think for a lot of you out there, you probably recognize the complexities and the challenges of that. So again, having all of that within the time system, having the employee self-service is something that is invaluable. As we move to the end of my portion of the presentation, just a few more things I kind of want to wrap up and speak to before I hand things off to my colleague Steve Tompkins here to kind of show you the software. I do want to just mention a few other things. Obviously, for the Affordable Care Act and a lot of the reporting that is necessary there, again, having all of those components and those provisions within the system, it really is huge. It really makes things so much easier when you're dealing with the 1095s and all that, the various components there. Obviously, being able to handle things like workers' comp as well. Just again, everything with the system being purpose-built from the ground up. The publisher really thought long and hard about all the different components that they wanted to have within the system, and to be able to manage all that from one platform is just absolutely something that really could change the way that a lot of people go about managing HR and managing even payroll on a day-to-day basis. So definitely something that I really I really can't overstate it. I truly can't. Again, on the payroll side of things, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, because again, the purpose today is going to be a bit more high level, and it's going to focus a lot more on the automation side of it. Where when we do the demonstration, Steve is going to be showing what it looks like from the employee's perspective, along with the administrator's perspective, but specifically around a lot more of the HR components of it. So I don't want to get too far into the payroll side of it, but again, being able to have all your various tax tables managed within software, absolutely critical as well, and just really simplifies the process so much, along with that reporting. And of course, as I mentioned previously, empowering the employees to be able to do so many things on their own, being able to make those changes within the system is like I said, it's invaluable. I will tell a quick story. I had a client who is I think they have 2 people in the HR department responsible for dealing with hundreds of different people. And, again, for the HR and payroll folks, they told me at certain times they can waste so much of their day just doing things like pulling pay stubs and W-2s, and a variety of other tasks that, being able to have that stuff, giving access to the employees has freed up a significant portion of their day, especially when it gets, near tax time for everyone. So just being able to have a system that's going to facilitate that, again, I can't overstate the importance and the value there. I talked about it in the beginning, but having that integration, that seamless integration between the 3 main ERPs that the system works with in Sage 100, Sage Intacct, and Acumatica is tremendous. Again, as I stated before, Criterion is actively working on building these very comprehensive and complex integrations with other solutions as well. But they are currently able to still have the ability to import and export data to other systems that maybe are not currently set up for those integrations. So again, don't think that if you are an ERP outside of these 3 that you are being left out or left in the cold. And I am excited to see all of the various additional ERPs that will be added in the future, because I know from our conversations with them, there are quite a few that will be added hopefully in short order. So that said, I am going to segue over. I believe my colleague Steve Tompkins, I think he is ready to be able to actually take you for a quick drive around on the software. So I am going to go ahead and hand things off to Steve and let him go ahead and show you what the software actually looks like. So Steve, if you are ready, I will let you take it away.
Thank you, Abe. All right, so let me show my screen here in a second. I gotta find my right one to show. I've got too many screens open here, so. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen here, which is showing Criterion. This is the employee self-service of Criterion, and so you can get a good feel of what an employee would see who logs into the system. And we treat everybody equally here. So all the employees, administrators, executives, any employee, managers, etc., they're all going to have a self-service option here. Now, what they see might be different based off of different security and things like that. And of course, what they can do in the system may also be limited, but what we try to do is to provide information to employees so that they, don't need to go back to HR or payroll to ask for certain information. They're able to see that information right up front here. So you can see a lot of information is available to the employees, helping to relieve HR from answering questions and, being able to provide stuff to the employees from HR, from management, from the executives to the people that are in the company. So just to give a quick tour of some of the things you can see on here. So as Abe was mentioning, the time system, that's a big part of it's part of our core of the system is our time. So you'll see here the employee's timesheet is showing their current attendance for the month right here. They can easily clock in and out of the system using the browser. So if they're logged into the browser, they can clock in and out. She's not clocked in right now, but she can clock in just using this. We also can do physical clocks and a mobile app as well, so you can clock in as well. So we try to make it very easy for the employees to be able to do that stuff, to use the system there. You'll see things like upcoming time off requests. So she's got one here in a few months, a vacation here in October. This one has been approved. That doesn't mean she hasn't made other requests that haven't been approved. So it makes it easy for employees to ask for time off, make those requests, have it follow a proper workflow so that, again, you're not having paper moving around. You can have approvals being done just right in an email. Somebody gets an email saying that Veronica would like some time off, and it shows her current balances, the days and time she's requesting off, and right in that email, they can approve those types of things right there. If you are doing payroll in our system, very easy for the employees to be able to click on one item here and be able to look at their pay stub. Their most current pay is on here. As you can see, she got paid last week, and here's her current pay on there, showing her salary, her deductions and taxes, etc., and able to download this stuff. And of course, if you are using a mobile app version of this, you're going to be able to view that right there. And if somebody needs, say, a pay stub for loan documentation, that kind of stuff, they're able to just download a copy of that as a PDF and send it off to whoever they need to for that information there. Further down, you'll see things like an event calendar. This is something that employees can subscribe to. So this way, you don't need to have, maybe somebody doing something in Outlook to maintain a calendar. You can have a calendar out here where people can subscribe to this or just see it in here. If they're clocking in every day, this would be available and visible to them every day. And as things get added, the stuff that's relative to them. So if it's for all employees or for a group of employees like a department or something like that, or a particular location, they're going to see the things that are applicable to them. As you can see, we've got open enrollment going on right now, so it finishes here in a few days. A company picnic coming up in July as an example of a couple of events out there. Down the middle, we have a feed where people, so this is the president of the company, Mary here, can send a message out to all employees, including little images or videos and attachments, documents, that kind of thing. Or you can have something from HR, letting them know about particular stuff. And you may even have your managers sending out messages to their employees. And those messages, of course, they're going to live here, but they also can go out as emails to the employees as well. So if they don't need to log in or not logging in every day to, clock their time or whatever, they're still able to get these messages delivered to them in a timely manner. Down the left-hand side here, you can see again some quick information, her time off balances. So again, relieving that question that's going to come to HR. How much vacation do I have? Or if I'm a manager, tell me about the vacation for my employees. The managers are able to view that information not only for themselves, but the people they're managing. You'll see tasks that need to be performed. So as an example, this employee needs to complete a W-4 form, or they need to go through an open enrollment, or as a manager, as an approver, approve time off for the employees. So the idea is to make it easy for you. So when I click on this W-4 form, as an example, it's going to load the form up here on the screen, and I can just fill it out right here. And you'll see some information is pre-filled, but of course other stuff where it's applicable to that particular stuff. Is she single or whatever, and all the things like that. And you can see down here, I can even have a signature with a date on here. And then when I have a workflow attached to this, what will happen is when I submit this, it's going to go off for approval, assuming you have an approval workflow, and that'll get approved. And that way payroll or whoever is involved with this particular form would be able to approve this thing, make whatever changes are applicable, or maybe it's just for their record, it lands in the employee's documents in their history that they can view. So very simple to do online forms for your employees. And you'll see how I can save this. I haven't completed everything, so I'm going to let me know I need to complete certain things. So if you have a form where there's required fields like this address, Main Street, San Diego, CA, like this. All right, and now I can submit this off for approval, and it's going to go to whoever is in charge of approving those types of forms. Could be a manager, could be a payroll or HR person, something like that. Other stuff, as I mentioned, open enrollment. This is where, as an approver, I need to go in and approve. It happens to be my own open enrollment, but I need to approve the open enrollment for my employees. So you can take a paper open enrollment and make it all electronic. And we can, of course, talk to the carriers as well, as long as carriers work with us. They accept an electronic file. We can generate an electronic file and send it automatically. So that way your employees are really empowered to do this stuff online. They go through, select their different coverages. At the end of the enrollment period, the person who's in charge of that would go ahead and approve that. And then it updates the system. It then sends over that information to the carriers on a scheduled basis. A lot of times that's, like weekly or per pay period or something. And that gets updated in the system automatically to help to, again, make things more automatic and more streamlined. As I mentioned, time off balances, so the employees can easily see that stuff and make requests online. And even things that are as simple as the links to other things that are useful for the employee. Could be your homepage, could be information about returning to the office, or benefits links or whatever on there. And then, of course, we have in our self-service here a bunch of information available for the employees about their record as an employee. So I can look in here and look at my timesheet, see all my timesheets are out here. I can, if you've been clocking in and out, they can look at the current pay period here and see, okay, here's my in and out punches for, this particular pay period, and see that time that's there and track various pieces of information on my time. You can see I've got a lot of stuff I'm tracking in and out, and all the overtime rules, and of course, are all handled by the system there. Mentioned time off a few times here. Here she can see her time off balances, make requests for future time off that she wants to do there, and you can have a whole workflow associated with this that goes to the appropriate person based off of your settings out there. As a manager, of course, we want to make it so the managers can also view employees. So let me trim. She's an administrator, so she sees everybody, all 300 and some odd employees in my company. But let's be more realistic. You're a manager and you're managing, a dozen people, something like that. And here are all the people who are, here's their time off balances and everything I could see about them. I could see, in this current week who's already had time off. She had time off on Monday. Maybe there's some other people who have had time off, or they've made requests, and I can see those out here. I can go forward and backwards, and I can even look at it on a calendar if I want to look at it that way and see, okay, in May, what was this? What was happening in previous months, in future months, and I can subscribe to this calendar. I can publish this calendar out so that people can see, okay, here's the time off calendar for June or July, and be able to subscribe to that if we need to maybe show it in Outlook or in a calendar application. I mentioned the employees' pay history. Of course, we have that, but we also give them visibility, or we can give them visibility to these other pieces of information that they might need to see here. Benefits, so I talked about open enrollment. So we allow the employees to go through open enrollment, but also to see their benefit plans. After open enrollment is done, they might want to see what their plans are. It's going to look a little odd here because she's got a lot of plans, but as we go through open enrollment, we can see, what's happening here. What is the current plan, what's the plan happening in the future, et cetera, out there. Going down to things like employee documents. So you may have forms the employee filled out like a W-4, and that's going to land over on their documents. And you can even do things like publishing out things like their W-2 and their ACA forms. So the employee, you don't need to print it out anymore. You can just publish it online. And, obviously if somebody needs to have that paper copy, maybe they're a terminated employee and you need to have that, you can still send it out for those people. But for the people who are logging in every day to the system and using it, you can publish those things automatically right here, and then they can download their own copy of this and take a look at it on there. And other documents as well. You may have other documents you want to have your employees be able to view, and they would be in these various folders that you can set up in the system there. Company documents. This can help to not necessarily replace SharePoint, but if you're using a document management system, but you want just HR specific stuff, payroll specific things out here where you want to share stuff like your handbook, different policies and procedures, time off, rules, and those types of things, you can have them out here as company documents so the employees can find that information very quickly in a place that they're going every day. Team documents. As a manager, I can view documents, assuming I have access to it, view documents on my employees that I'm managing. So I might be able to view, let's say, performance reviews that have been completed, and I want to be able to view those out on my employees. Those could be documents out there, whereas something like a W-2, 1095, that ACA form, those are going to be private for the employees. I'm not going to see those published out here, so you can do that. Company videos, so you may want to publish videos that have something to do with HR or payroll, or just general company videos are out there. Reports. We want to be able to allow our employees to be able to run reports either for themselves or for the team that they are managing. And we have various reports out there. One of my favorites is this total compensation report. This allows the employee to see their benefits, not only just what they're earning on their paycheck, but also their benefits for the year. So you can see here how much have I been paying, so far this year for my benefits. And, down here visually, on top of those benefits, there's also the employer contribution, how much I've earned so far. And for those benefits, how much am I contributing? How much is the company contributing of my total pay? Of course, I'm getting cash, but I'm also getting that hidden benefit of those benefits as part of my compensation. And this is updates as we go through. So I've only run it through May here, but if I was towards the end of the year, it's going to be updated showing, whatever has changed, the compensation, bonuses, et cetera, that would all be in here. So that's a great example of a report out there. Now, when I'm looking at it from a administrative point of view, I've seen a lot of stuff on the HR side, but when I'm looking at it as an administrator, I can see something that gives me information at my fingertips here. This is our dashboard showing various key performance indicators that might be super useful here. As you can see, we've got different things along the top to show things like our turnover rate, any overtime hours in the month so far, number of active employees, time lost to injury, and I can change these around to different things. If I maybe haven't had any time lost to injury or workers' comp costs, I want to change it to revenue per FTE or something like that. So if you are making 100, let's say 1.5 million per year, well, our revenue per FTE per full-time employee is $2,500. It's probably not realistic, but because I got a lot of employees in here. But there you go. You can see how that can show there, and that can be updated. Here are stuff that happens, over time. This is showing the last 12 months, all hires and terminations. So you can kind of see how you've been adding employees and losing employees to termination. Even down here, graph showing things like the number of employees per department, ethnic IDs here, total employees. Maybe you want to look at something with, let's say, by gender or something like that. I can update that, and it updates very quickly. Over here, some information that might be useful for HR for the current week. So anniversaries, birthdays, et cetera. And if they want to click on this particular employee, they're able to see that information about that employee and look at, and maybe they want to send them out a birthday greeting or something like that. But very simple to look around and find employee data. And the nice thing about this is when you're in this side as the administrator, it's going to look very similar to what I see as an employee. So there's not a drastic learning curve for somebody who is using employee self-service and then switching over to the administrator. You might have different permissions than say a regular employee would have, but it's not going to look totally different. You're not having to say, oh, well, that looks different. I can't see that over there, or it's a different screen or something like that. I'm able to view all that information here. We do have position control available. Some companies like to put that down there where they track all the different positions that you have and the number of employees in here. So this is showing all of my EINs. That's why there's 4 CEOs, because I've got a bunch of different companies out here. But if I narrow it down to just, let's say, one company, I'm not going to have 4 CEOs. I'm going to have a different thing out here. And you can see the employees that are filling that particular position. So you'll see out here, AP clerk, Megan is the AP clerk, and I can click on her to get information. If there's multiple employees within a particular position, I can very quickly see who those employees are, and I can go into their information if I need to. And you can track this for, like I said, for position control. So if you're saying that we should have 6 assemblers and there's only 5 employees there, we can track that information to let us know that there is an open position, or more than one. You may have 2 part-timers here that make 1 full-time equivalent. So you might actually have 2 openings here for this particular position, and we're able to report on that and so forth. We also have applicant tracking built right in that reads this position information. So when we go to our recruiting and we pick a particular position, let's say this credit specialist here, this is tied over to a position. So as we are tracking this information against here, we can see this. Here's all the job information. Here's that position information showing different requirements for an open position. And this stuff comes back to that position that I was just looking at a few moments ago, and it's all tracked over there. So as we are looking for employees, we can publish this stuff out on our website to let people know about the different requirements for a particular position. And then we can track candidates, either people who have applied, whether they've applied through our directly through our application or through a third party where we can publish out to third party sites here. Right now we have these 6 third party sites, but we are always looking to add others. We just recently added Job Target here within the last few months. So if you happen to work with one that's not here, we are always looking to add other ones, and we definitely can work with you to add different job search boards onto here. But something like Indeed here, I can tie it right over to my account there. So when I publish a job, or when I create a job here in Criterion, I can publish it over in Indeed, and then people can apply from Indeed, and they land up over here as a candidate, and then I can track all their information over there. Otherwise, if you're not doing that, if you're doing it all internally, I can do like this and show you, here's what it would look like on, let's say, your website where this can be embedded, and then the employees, potential employees, can apply to this position here. Or if I want to see a list of all my open positions and have a search available, I can do that out here where people can look at this and say, oh, I'm interested in the superintendent job, and get information about that, so they're able to see that. And the nice thing about this is that this is all one system. So when we have somebody who's a candidate, we've decided they're the right person, it's literally just a couple of clicks to make them an employee. You're filling in some information about them, but it's just a matter of telling the system that I'm now taking a candidate and I am making them an employee. So if John Wayne is the right person for this, you'll see I can just go right up here and create a new employee right from here. I'm not having to export information, type a bunch of stuff in that wasn't already on their application or was in another system, and now I've got to print it out or import it or something like that. It takes all the information from this record and it simply converts them from a candidate to an employee. They're already in the system as just a person, so it's a matter of flipping a little flag in the back end to make that. And the same thing it works with when somebody's in HR. There's not a difference between an HR record and, say, a payroll record. It might be that HR administrators see different information than payroll, but that's a simple security setting versus, let's say, 2 separate systems that might be talking in the background or something like that. And same thing applies with the time system. It's all one. So at the end of the pay period, when everything's approved, it's a matter of just pushing a button to load those timesheets in from our time system into our payroll. So Criterion is highly integrated like that and makes it so that you're not having multiple systems talk to each other. And then, as Abe was mentioning, we do work with the ERPs that we sell, Sage 100, Intact, and Acumatica. So at the end of the payroll cycle, once you've completed all the payroll in here, we push one button to transmit the GL transactions from our payroll over to those one of those ERPs, and on that side you just simply choose to post it and it's done. There's not any type of export import situation or manual entry of information. And we do have other ERPs that we work with. We don't I don't think DSD sells them, but things like Microsoft Dynamics is another very popular ERP that we also work with. And again, as I mentioned, we're always looking to add other ERPs. So if you're working with one that we don't currently sell and you're interested in Criterion, we definitely want to try to work with as many as we can. Of course, it then depends on the third party of whether they have that capability of working with us. So we have an open API that companies can use to push and pull data to us securely, of course, but if the third party, that other ERP, doesn't have that capability, or let's say an applicant tracking system doesn't have that capability, there's not a whole bunch that Criterion can do. Maybe there's something that the other party can do, but the best we could do is we can also always export data out. That's more traditional way of doing it. Dumping data out as, let's say, a CSV file or some type of XML or formatted file that can then be imported into another site. So we definitely want to work with as many other systems as possible. So we try to make ourselves as open as possible and always looking to add functionality. And that's another big thing about Criterion is we do take feedback from the end users, from our clients and from all the clients that Criterion has, and we add those suggestions into the system. And this system is updated 4 or 5 times a year to include, of course, compliance type things. If a new law comes out that affects a certain aspect of HR or payroll or recruiting, we'll take that into account and it'll be added to the system. But we also get a majority of our new items and changes in the system based off of feedback from our clients. So we actively are engaged with our clients, and Criterion will, if you suggest something, you want to see a new feature, a new capability, a new ERP added, that kind of thing, we will take that very seriously. We'll add that capability if possible into the system. That includes simple things from, just updating a report to adding new functionality into the system. And so those changes that come out 4 or 5 times a year, it's usually about 20 or 30 new features that get added, and almost all of them are based off of user feedback, not just from DSD, because we have our own ideas too, but from actual end users and stuff like that. So that's how this system is continually growing, continually evolving. What you see today might look very different than what you will see in 6 months as we add new functionality into the system and make tweaks that are based off of user feedback. All right, so I've shown a lot of the system in here. I don't have time to do a full demo on here, so I don't know if there's any questions that are out there so far that we can answer any questions on anything.
There has not been too much interaction in the chat about kind of what you've shown. So perhaps you could just maybe with the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes, give an overview of maybe a feature that clients really love that you didn't touch on yet. Okay.
Sure. So I mentioned all the integration. Of course, there's dozens and dozens, hundreds really, of reports that are built in. So when I'm looking at HR as an example, you can see all of these reports. These are different libraries of reports that tie into different, aspects of HR. So stuff from demographics, of course, is going to be just employee basic information. I call it basic because it's, things like their address, their birthdays, their job and pay rate information and stuff like that. So you can see that. The nice thing about Criterion as well is we can customize reports. So of course, like I mentioned, we're always looking to add new features. And let's say there's a employee profile demographics report that you really like, and you think, hey, it would be really great if it had these extra couple of fields or something like that. So what we do as, of course, a value-added reseller is we can take that report and we can add stuff onto it and add it back into the system so that your report is customized for you, while the developers might be adding that functionality in there. Sometimes they're not going to, add something in just simply because it's very niche for one client. That one client needs this particular field, but nobody else might use it. Maybe you have a custom field, but we can definitely take those things and put them out there in those reports. These ones with a little star, an example of a customized report. So these are all reports using our report engine called Pentaho, but we can also do what we call a data grid. And that's just something that is really popular with our clients, where you don't need to necessarily come back to us to run a report or reach out to Criterion. So if a report, maybe it exists, but it's not great, and you wish you could, have your own customized report, this data grid allows you to create your own report and then export that stuff out to a PDF or to Word, to Excel, so that you can then get that information out. Maybe you combine it with some other system of information for a more complete report. So it's very simple to do this. I always use this one as an example, not for any particular reason, but emergency contact lists. You can see here, it's pulled data here in real time. So I've got 127 rows of data out here. I can very easily edit this information to add new things in here. Let's say I don't need the middle name anymore, but I do want to have the, let's say, whether they are a dependent or not. So this is a list of emergency contacts, but I might also want to see if they happen to be a dependent. And maybe I also want to show the student status or the work phone. How about the work phone? So we'll add that on there very quickly. As you see, just add those 2 new columns on here. I can very simply sort it by a certain thing. Let's say I want to sort it by last name, and I'll just go ahead and sort that. And here you'll see they are an emergency contact. This is true. And now this report is going to be slightly different than it was before. So this is showing those same emergency contacts, same 127 people, but now those new columns that I've added are over here. They are dependent, and there's the work phone. And I can easily drop this out to Excel. So this is a really, really popular way of employees getting, or companies getting data out of the system. And that's one big thing for Criterion is we want to make it as easy as possible for you to get to your data. It's your data, of course. You happen to be using our system, but it's your data. We don't want to, have a roadblock or anything in the way for you to be able to get to your data. We have provided direct database access to clients who maybe they've got some third-party analytics tool that they want to access the data. We offer the ability to actually get to the database itself. You can't update the database, but you can pull down the data. It is still secure. So we would provide certificate and stuff like that so you can get to it securely, but we know it's your data, it just happens to be in our system. So we want to make it so you can get to all of it. And every module in the system, we call them, every table and every field in the system is available for you. So if I go out here, we have what we call modules, which are kind of pre-built views of the data. So if you're something that's built to select certain fields, that's what these are out here. But we also say, you know what, if you know what table you want to go to, we'll happily give you the data dictionary. You can look at that. You can decide which table you want to pull data out of. And let's say you want something from, you see all those custom values up there where we can add stuff in. Let's say something from the employee benefits. You add that table in here, and then you can add these tables. It automatically creates your links for you. So I can add employee data. I can add person data, which is where the name and address would reside. And I can add these types of things in here so that I can pull that data out myself. And I have access to every single field within that table as well. So again, we're not trying to restrict your access to anything. We want you to be able to have your data the way you like it. And of course, if you say, I would love this in a report format, we would definitely work with you on that. But these data grids are very useful. And the great thing about these is not only can I create a data grid, I can also schedule these data grids to go and be distributed automatically. I can do that with reports, of course, and say, every Friday I need this report to go to so-and-so that shows, the higher terminations over the last 7 days. But maybe you've made a data grid that has, some information that you need to run on the 20th of every month that you use for something. You can take a data grid and you can do that and have it be distributed. And when I say distributed, not just emailed out to employees or managers, we can also have it land in a folder in self-service. So when I go over to self-service, you saw those documents over there, I could have a folder for reports. So back over here, I might have a folder over here for reports under my documents where it lands, and I can see a listing of that information over the last several times I've run it. So if I have this report folder here, I might have reports in here that have been run. And these can be distributed to specific people. So if you want to have, let's say, an overtime report going out to, a handful of people, if they're going to see that in here, you can send it by email. You can also have it land in here. So it's very nice way to do that. This is actually something the publishing it to self-service was added recently based off of customer feedback. But distributing reports automatically through email has been in the system for a very long time. So it's an example of something that was added based off of customers asking for that stuff. And that works for things like the W-2s at the end of the year, automatically published out here. ACA forms automatically published. And other things like that, we can automatically get them published for employees to be able to look at that information. So the reporting and data grid, I think, is a big thing to show that you can get all of your data back out. It's not just a vault that you can never access. And I think that's a really popular feature. I know we're right here at the end, so I wanted to stop before we ran over.
Yep, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, both Dave and Steve. I think that was an excellent sort of rounded out benefits, what Criterion has to offer, and then a real deep dive in the demo. So if anyone has any outstanding questions, please feel free to respond to any of our communications here. You will receive a copy of this recording probably within about 24 hours at the end of this meeting. So with that, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you guys have a great day.